Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello and welcome to episode 402 of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. You're looking to either start, grow, or monetize your YouTube channel. This is the podcast for you. We give you a behind-the-scenes look, and I interview wonderful creators each and every Friday morning for you to get a look at their strategies, some tips, and maybe something that will make a light bulb go off in kind of your creative mind of something that someone else is doing to help you apply it to your YouTube channel. We have all types of creators on the show, small, large, medium-sized creators, some that are monetized, some that aren't. So if you're looking just for an overall great creator podcast, this is the show for you. My name is Dusty Porter. I've been on YouTube for almost 15 years now. I get about 60 to 80,000 views every single day. I also have this podcast and another called TubeBuddy Express, both brought to you by the fine folks over at TubeBuddy, the browser plug-in AI tool of choice for myself and thousands of other creators. If you want a free 30-day trial, you can get a month free of using TubeBuddy by using our link, and I promise you will not regret it. A couple of other ways you can support us and connect with us. I do offer professional YouTube coaching, YouTube channel audits. All of those links will be in the show notes below. And then we have one of the fastest growing creator communities on the internet on our Discord server. You can support us on Patreon. $5 is all it takes. You get access to our server where you can go and post your most recent upload, talk about your most recent thumbnail, ask questions about YouTube in general, building a brand, building a business. It's just a great place to rub shoulders with other creators, and you can do that for $5. And you also get access to our monthly mastermind calls. And I promise those are some of the most valuable things you can do, where you can get on Zoom with me and 10 or 12 other creators and just chat shop and just talk about YouTube and all the things that are involved and kind of what struggles you're going through and specific topics that we may be talking about that specific month. Hopefully you can find a place to fit in some of those places, but if not, no worries. Just sit back, relax. The show's about to start, and we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty Porter here, the host of the show, as always. And today I am joined by 25-year-old full-time medical student, Syed, who also makes YouTube videos about Clash of Clans. If you don't know what that is, it is a mobile game, and the content is primarily focused on helping new and developing players progress their accounts in an entertaining and community-oriented manner. Now, the name of the channel is BD Legend Clash of Clans. He almost has 50,000 subscribers, not even 200 videos yet, averages tens of thousands of views every single video. He's got a great educational, fun channel. Syed, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate, the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. It has been a minute since I've had a gamer on the podcast. Early on in the show, which the show is now 10 years old. I've been doing this podcast now for over a decade, which is crazy to think about. But early on, I had a lot of gaming creators on the show, but I found that a lot of them really didn't care much for the strategy or the technique or how to actually grow a YouTube channel. I find that your channel is different, but before we kind of tackle that, I want to ask you, can you give me the origin story? You're a medical student, you got this channel you're doing on the side. Can you give me the whole story behind the channel and kind of how it came to be?
Yeah, of course. So ever since I was younger, actually, around like 10 years old, I really liked YouTube and I wanted to make YouTube videos, and I started dabbling here and there. I had another channel in the past where I just kind of uploaded just anything, right? Anything I really wanted to make videos about. And as I'm sure you and most of the audience will know, that's probably not the best strategy, right? So, that happened, and I still wanted to make videos. I just never really had the discipline or the knowledge for it. And you kind of need both, right? You need both ends of that. Later on, got a little bit older. I really enjoyed Clash of Clans. And I had a year or two off. I was working, but before medical school. And I thought, why don't I go ahead and just try this with Clash of Clans? And it just kind of started from there, right? And then I took all the experience that I had from before, as well as like my knowledge of the game, and I started to really apply a little bit more of that discipline that I lacked in the past. And then after that, I was able to, start gaining a following. And once I saw that dream like that I had as a kid, once I saw that playing out, it was just hard to let go after that. So
I think the interesting thing about your channel is that it's niched down to a specific game, which in your case is Clash of Clans. What would you say are the pros and cons of that? I think obviously the downside would be, when the game either closes or is not doing as well, just overall, your channel will obviously not do as well. But what would you say are the pros and cons of kind of niching down to a specific game, and what have you kind of found in that regard?
Right. So a few things here, right? So the pros, well, just in general, like the pros of niching down is that you will have consistent content and like consistently relevant content to a specific audience. So the audience will have more incentive to return to your content. Now, I would go even farther to say that like my channel is niched down to not only just Clash of Clans, but also just developing players in Clash of Clans and then strategy for those players, as well as strategy that isn't just straightforward. It's a little bit entertaining. It's a little bit, it's just nice to watch instead of just a wall of information, right? Which is good for some people as well. So I think the more you can niche down, the better it is, because the viewers that I have, they're going to just consistently come back to the videos that I watch, right? Mm-hmm. So, and of course, this could be a larger conversation, but there's always going to be a core audience. They're going to watch anything you make. Unless you make something that they don't like, then they won't watch you, right? So if you hit that core audience every time, you'll get X amount of views, and then you'll have a wider audience if you hit, more topical topics, right? Or things that other people are interested in, or if you work on your presentation of your content, you'll also get, let's say, Y viewers, right? And then there's Z, which is like literally everybody else, right? And if you make something super viral, you'll get Z as well, X, Y, Z, you'll get everybody, right? So that's the advantages of niching down. The cons is that I'm not going to make a video tomorrow and it's not going to hit 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views, because that's basically the entire viewer base, right? Actually, I'd say the viewer base is even more than that, but a majority of the viewer base is, 3, 4 million viewers, right? So I'm not going to hit 10 million views on a video. But yeah.
And it's a bit different with your case because the game is what we would call like a living game, right? Like the game continues. It's an evergreen game that they continue to update month after month. And it's now a game that, how old is the game?
The game is now 14 years old.
Yeah, which is crazy. So they're going to continue to update that. And, at the end of the day, regardless if it's 10 years old, 14 years old, that's a long time. The game's been around for a while. So it's established. There's new players coming in, and then the returning players are obviously going to want your information as well. So what would you say would be your biggest failure? Like, since you started the YouTube channel, what would be the thing that you would say, man, I really messed up here? What would be that thing, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I could do a lot better is just putting out more content. So you mentioned it in the intro. I don't even have 200 videos yet. However, I think there were periods of time where I wish I had put out more videos. I wish I had put in a little bit more discipline. There were periods of time where I was doing the absolute most. I could not function, right? As you know, I'm also balancing this with med school as well. So I have to take seasons off. Like currently I'm basically on a 2.5 month break, and my audience knows. They're like, hey, as I'm studying for boards right now, I have boards in a week and a half. I just took one last week. So I really can't put out content right now. Like I have to move my focus somewhere else. So I think more discipline, more time management, that's like one of my biggest regrets, because if I were able to figure out, maybe develop systems or develop anything else to help me make content in those times, or just push out more content or schedule more content when I do have time, that would help out a lot, I think.
So let's just stay here for a second. What are your time management strategies? Like, how do you, I'm going to be honest with you, going through med school, you've got boards coming up right now. That's a lot. That's a lot just by itself. So being able to balance, being able to take those breaks with your audience knowing, because your channel hasn't suffered because of it. I mean, you're still getting the same amount of views on these videos when you come back from these hiatuses from doing med school stuff. So how are you managing and balancing all of this?
Yeah, to be honest, not very well. I'll be real with you. I wish it was a little bit better. I've gotten better ever since I started. A few things is that I prep ahead of time, so I try to think about it ahead of time, knowing that, okay, I'm a month ahead, I'm 2 months ahead. I know this is gonna happen. Like, what do I do at that time? That's one thing. The other thing, one of the biggest like unlocks that I've had is actually getting freelance editors, because what ends up happening is that I may not have enough time to, edit a video, do everything that I need to do for like 1 week or 2 week, or pretty much during med school, you don't have that time. You're going to be sacrificing something. So what I do instead is that I script the videos, I make it really easy to edit. I give it off to my editors, and then I kind of take the back seat from there. So then I focus on my studies for a few days while the editors are working. When the editors get back to me, all of a sudden we have a few videos. I schedule those. Then I find times to record the next few videos to get them going. And then I just kind of go from there. So kind of really switching between those two things.
And what's your process of finding these editors? I spoke with my guest last week actually about this, but I would love to know your unique approach. Like how have you landed on somebody?
Yeah, so the first thing I did was ask my audience, right? I think that's what everybody should do first, because if you have people in your audience who already know your content, who already like you, right? You'd rather have those people, bring them on, and then think, don't immediately bring them on. So what I did was I had a test edit. So I had like just a standard file. I sent it to all the people. So I reached out on Upwork as well as to my audience. I sent it to everybody that was there. I sent the same test edit with the same process that I would make on a normal video. I had the same process for a video in which I script everything, and then I have another row with like editing notes, exactly what I want, and I give them a little bit of freedom as well. And then I want to see what they can do with that, right? And then I take the same test edit, I bring it back, and then I just, compare all the test edits, whatever I like the most, the person's communication, as well as their skills, as well as whether or not they want to grow, what they know about the game. If they have any knowledge about the game, that's really important too. And then from that, I kind of decide who
I love that. That is a great process because number one, you're not having to spend money that's wasted, right? It's you get to allow them to basically give you resumes of like, hey, here's what I can do for you, and they're going to try to put their best foot forward. It's actually, I've gotten a lot of logos for different business ventures that way through sites like 99 Design or Design Pickle, where people will basically kind of throw their ideas out there from your briefing, and then you pick one from like the hundreds of ideas that come out. So it allows you to see kind of their communication skills back and forth as you give them requests and edits to what they've already done. I absolutely love that, because once you get someone who edits, they're not going to do it like you do it. So you're going to have to work with them and spend some time to get them there. So I absolutely love that. What's something that you wish you would have known sooner? Like we talked about your failures, things that you can get better at, but like looking now that you are approaching, 20 or 30 more videos, 200 videos, you've been doing this a while. What have you said to yourself, man, if I just would have done that sooner, I wish I would have known that sooner, I could have kind of gotten where I am faster?
Yeah. Oh man. Easily packaging. Packaging is like so important. It's the number one thing, I think. If you want to get views on your channel, here's the thing. Here's how I look at it, right? You can make your videos better by theorizing, right, about what is going to be good, or you could have actual people watch your videos and then tell you, right? So if you have 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 views on a video, they will tell you what needs to be better, and you'll figure that out from there. Or you can sit in your room and like theorize about it, but that's not going to help you, right? So packaging is super important, because if you don't package your videos correctly, the views won't get there in the first place, right? And packaging in itself is an art. Like it is so important. In fact, I haven't.
When you're saying packaging, can you let the audience know what you mean by that, by packaging?
Of course, yeah. So it's titles and thumbnails primarily, right? But it's not like, we have to really think about it a lot deeper. And I think this is where a lot of creators can really spend a little bit of time, myself included, right, to really get better. Titles, thumbnails have more to do with just write a nice title, find some keywords. No, think about the psychology of the title, the thumbnail, right? A lot of gaming channels especially. So, I'm not really sure what encouraged you to ask me to be here, but one of the things that I've been able to do, especially, around last December, right, or so, I was getting ridiculous views compared to what I should be getting, right, compared to everybody else in my niche and things like that. And a lot of that was packaging, right? I just found a specific thing that I thought a lot of individuals in the audience weren't getting from a lot of the other videos, and they might be asking themselves that question in their minds. And I tried to pull that out in the title and thumbnail, and that really resonated with a lot of people.
I think
you can figure that out. Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you made a good comment about you don't know what made me reach out to you. I looked at a lot of the channels in your space. The way that I find guests for this show is either a personal interest of mine that I'm consuming on YouTube, but for the most part, I go to each niche, every niche and sub-niche, and I find the top players in the game, and I see which one stands out to me. And I also try to watch a few of their videos and make sure that their communication skills are good, because you can't come on a podcast. People can already tell we're 10 minutes into this, and your communication skills are very, very good. So that is something that you have going for you, right? Your presentation skills are way above average. But I think for you, your thumbnails really stood out. The way that your thumbnails pop off the screen and the way that you title your videos makes me want to click. It's like, oh, I don't really play this game, but I want to click. Like, I want to at least see what this is about. So can you talk about the top 2 or 3 points of packaging of the title? I call them title, thumbnail, and description, and you can even go deeper than that if you want to kind of breadcrumb it out. But for you, what would you say are the top 2 or 3 points that you would say for people if you want to improve your packaging, getting CTR, right? The click-through rate of, like, let's say there's 5 million people who play Clash of Clans. Well, how are you going to get the most people who are in your little people, your target audience? How are you going to get the highest percentage of those people to click on your video?
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that, by the way. Thank you for all the kind words. And so when I think of packaging, the first thing that I'm thinking about always, and I'd say this to a lot, like, especially like, newer creators or people who just aren't, they're not all up in Photoshop, right? Like, I do a lot of my own stuff in Photoshop, but if you don't have Photoshop, you don't need it, because what the most important thing is psychology. If you can break down the psychology of the packaging, you don't need the graphics. You don't need I see a lot of, like, even when I was like younger, when I wanted to make really good videos, I thought, oh, the fanciest graphics on the packaging, the fanciest thumbnail possible. That's not what's important. What's important is psychology. When people look at your image, the first thing that they're going to see is the image, the thumbnail, right? They have to ask a question. They have to be curious. They have to stop, right? Then so it's called a curiosity loop, right? So this is a little bit advanced, but if you can do this, it'll be good. So basically, if you can create curiosity from the thumbnail and then answer it with the title, or bring people in with the title, that's going to be super, super, click worthy, right? But generally, if you want to start off, I would say psychology first, and that means putting the most important thing on the thumbnail first. Now, that most important thing also has to be something that isn't super common, right? For example, if I'm talking about wealth, diamonds are a super common symbol of wealth, right? So if I just put those on there, yeah, people will get the idea that it's wealth, but it's not as unique either. So try to make it unique, but try to also make it something that stands out, that takes up most of the real estate on the thumbnail, because that's what people are going to want to see. And then from there, try to depict your, this is my personal rule, I try to do it in 3 elements or less. Try to depict your entire concept in 3 elements or less, because we don't want to see 100 images, right? No. We don't want to see all these things, right? And you really want people to see what you want them to see. Yeah. So, for example, like you've probably seen on my channel, I have like a versus, right? Like a versus, like basically I have 2 rewards that you get in the game, and I put a versus in the middle. And my whole video is about breaking down the best rewards for players, right? And I just take my idea is I take the 2 rewards that people are, not that they know that they should definitely get. I don't take the best rewards. I just take the rewards that people would have trouble, deciding. So I was like, oh, should I get this one or should I get that one? Obviously, I should get, this one because it's the best. 100% of players will get this one, right? But what about that next reward, right? I don't know if I should get this one or the other one, right? Because I don't need to put the best reward on there. Everybody knows already. So why would I answer the question that you already know the answer to? Right. So things like that, really thinking deep about when the audience, sees my image, right? Or sees my packaging, what are they going to think? If you can answer that first question and maybe a second question, you'll see that you'll be flying through a lot of your old thumbnails and all of your old packaging ideas, and you'll be thinking to yourself like, oh, I'm not packaging these correctly. Like, you really need to target the psychology. Try to keep it to below 3 elements, right? And text being one of those elements. Try to keep it to below 3 elements. Target the psychology, and then after that, if you want to add design, if you want to make it fancy, you can.
Hey guys, a quick pause in the interview this week to talk about my new weekly newsletter called the Entrepreneur's Minute. My plan for the newsletter is to only send out 1 email every week with a recap of what's going on in my business, maybe do an income report letting you know kind of how much money I've made that week or that specific month. an update on my YouTube channel, and just a behind the scenes look of what it takes to be a creator, the books that I'm reading, the products I'm discovering, new AI tools and resources. So if you're just looking for a way to better connect with me, Dusty, and see kind of what I got going on and the different things that I want to write about each week, maybe it's my family, maybe it's my business, it's absolutely free. It's called The Entrepreneur's Minute, and I would really appreciate it. All right, now back to the show.
You know, you mentioned text there at the end. You do something that whenever I bring in clients and I work with 10 or 12 of them every week in regards to their YouTube channels, I always tell them, oftentimes they're putting way too much text on their thumbnails. So they're putting like the whole title as the text. You don't do that. You have, like one of your titles is the best all-rounder equipment to upgrade for all players. And then you put the word versatility. And then you have the equipment pieces kind of very vibrant on the thumbnail. So you're keeping it simplistic. The main thing is the main thing, and you're not putting too much text on it. So I encourage you, I will have a link to Syed's YouTube channel down below. Even if you don't play the game or don't even game at all, I want you to look at his thumbnails and see, how can I take this and make it applicable to my niche or my channel space? That way I can figure out how can I package my stuff to where people do want to click. Because you do have to think about, if you obviously, Syed, you play the game yourself, so you know what these people want. You know the rewards, you know the things. So like me, I know YouTube, I know technology. So for my channel, I'm able to figure out what that piece of the puzzle is. But it's an ever-evolving thing, and you're never going to perfect it. You just continually improve on it incrementally over time. So I love that you just had a great example. Now, as far as like the tech stack or the software and things that you use, you mentioned Photoshop. This is a new question that I'm asking creators as of the past month or two is, are there any AI tools that you're using as a creator that's helped you enhance your workflow?
No, I should be, right? But I'm not. And a lot of the reason for that is just because I think you spoke about this last week as well, because I listened to that episode and you guys were talking about this. I think it's really important for creators to know when they can bite things off.
That's right.
And when they can add things to their plate. Right now, I just can't, right? Especially, like, I'm on a 2-month break. When I get back, I'm not going to be worried about AI, right? I'm going to be worried about putting out content, right? So that's just what I'm thinking about. But I think there are some ways you can use AI. Some portions of AI I'm purposefully not using. Like, for example, like ChatGPT can write you titles. Now, again, I went back to packaging. I want to understand the psychology. Like, I want to know what makes it a good title. I don't want ChatGPT to give me a bunch of titles and I pick one of them, right? I want to come up with that, right? So I use it sometimes for coming up with ideas, right? I really want to understand the psychology behind these and like, hey, this will work, this won't work, right? So I think, so I don't use much AI, right? Like a little bit in Photoshop and things like that, not much, right?
I think it's a great answer. It's a great insight, because I think right now, if you're doing titles in ChatGPT and you're copy and pasting, they're terrible. Okay, they're just really bad right now. I think that eventually they'll be good. I think that as the models get better, they will continue to get better. But as I always say, and people get tired of hearing me say this, just use AI as a companion tool or a companion piece. Let's go ahead and jump into monetization, making money. People oftentimes ask me, can you still make money with gaming channels on YouTube? Like, what are the ways to do this? Now, there's something unique about the company that makes Clash of Clans, which is Supercell. They have these creator codes, which, it's very similar to like what Fortnite has with Epic Games. And so you don't fully have to monetize with just ad revenue. So can you break down all the monetization buckets you have for your channel and maybe give us like an average of what you may make on a normal month?
Yeah, of course. So one thing I will say about the creator codes right before we get started, I don't have one yet. So you have to get to a certain level before you get them. And usually they say around like 100,000, and then you can go ahead and apply, or before then if you have like a good relationship with them. Again, they just want to make sure that it'll be actually worth getting a code to you. You get about 5% of the sales for everything that they so all the sales that are used with your code, you get about 5%. So it's pretty good. And I'm really glad that they have that program. I just personally, that's just not one of my revenue streams yet, right? It will be one day, hopefully. Yeah. So when it comes down to revenue, there's only two real ways that I make revenue. One is AdSense, and then the other one is just like brand partnerships, right? Usually that comes down to integrations, and that's really all it's been so far. The AdSense, so it's hard. It's hard to give you a standard number. Last year, I was like not really making too much. Obviously, anything as a student helps. Anything, you know, for anyone helps, right? Last year, maybe like 200-ish, right? A month. This year, if I mean, I haven't been working at all, but on a normal month, I can make around 1,500. So that's generally what I'm making a month. And then the brand partnerships, it really just matters. Because there's not really a consistent they just email, right, for integrations here and there. So there's not really consistent revenue there. When there is an integration, I generally charge between $250 and $500 for an integration.
And what's an integrate? Explain what you mean by integration, because people call them different things. What would you say would be like? Give us an example of one that you've done in the past.
Right. Yeah. So of course. So it's like just a 30-second, usually 30 to 45-second, just part in the middle of the video. I just take a break, talk about, you know, an app. There's an app that makes Clash of Clans base layouts. So they were the first app to reach out to me, and it makes sense for them. And I just promote their app, and then I have a link. Generally, I tell people, go to the description. You guys can check out, this app, and they'll pay me for that part of the video. And I usually take a standard rate. I really don't do it by views or anything like that. But
sure,
that's just how I do it. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think that you're well on your way to getting that creator code, and I think you're going to see that you're going to make a good bit of money that way. 5%. I mean, people are spending. There are people who spend tons of money on these mobile games. So I think it would be a big kind of boon for you and your channel. So I think that's coming. I want to talk about community. If you grow any type of entertainment channel, a gaming channel, whatever, vlog, it doesn't matter. You're trying to build a community and keep that community. Build a brand even off and outside of YouTube. How have you done that? What are the methods that you're cultivating a community that wants to come back and consume your content when you do come back?
Yeah. So I think one of the best, well, I have a Discord server. It's got almost 2,000 members on the Discord server. So unfortunately, I haven't been as active on it because I am studying for boards, but people know that, when I'm not, right, I will be on the Discord server. They can add, they can ping me, they can ask me questions on there, and I do respond. One of the biggest things that I've done, though, is that if you go to my community tab, you can see the ridiculous amount of polls I've done in the past. Those polls have gotten many thousands of votes, and I the only reason I've stopped is because I'm currently studying, but I generally try to do 1 or 2 polls a day, and then people will just come back, and I try to make those polls really fun, right? And then what ends up happening is that it just creates a nice little vibe, right? So I'm just thinking about the wider audience in general. I'm just creating a little bit of a vibe for them, so that they can come to the videos if they want. Within the videos themselves, I really want people to be rewarded for coming back to videos, right? So sometimes I'll include portions of videos that doesn't necessarily alienate any of the new audience, but it just rewards people that are there consistently. For example, I use a joke in consistently in videos, right? So that people who came before, they understand the joke because they've seen that joke before, things like that, right? So trying to build community in that way.
Yeah, the community polls, I mean, some of these polls you're doing have over 50,000 votes. I mean, these people are really involved and interested in what you're posting there. I just wish YouTube would invest more time and resources in making that community tab better than what it is. I really feel like it could be its own social network if they were willing to do that. I think YouTube oftentimes dabbles in so many things that they don't really lean into anything, and so they're kind of tasting the waters and see what kind of if it's not going to be a large windfall of money for them. I think that their investment, time, and resources doesn't go there. But I'd love to see the community tab, because for you, you're right. You're oftentimes always putting these polls up there. I'm on your community tab right now, and people are really interested in what you're doing, and so you're keeping them updated with, hey, just took one of the board exams today, and it's a great way to stay connected with your community. And I love that. I also see that you do live streams as well. Like, speak on that. Like, what has that done for the channel, and what is your strategy going forward with those?
Yeah, so live streams are huge, right? So I think one of the unlocks with live streams is that the issue I think people have with streaming is that they don't know what to stream about, right? So I've made a lot of videos on giving people advice. Hey, this is what you should upgrade. This is what you should focus on if you're trying to get to this result, right? So my live streams, one of the ideas that I had is, I'm just going to tell people what they should do. I'm just going to review your base live. And I have over 500 people in line right now just to get their bases reviewed. I can't even keep up with it, right? But that's what I do on the live stream. I look at people's bases. Hey, this is what I think you should do. This is what I think you shouldn't do. And a lot of people will stick around because they'll be in a similar level, or they just want to learn more, right? So they're sticking around. It's a little bit of a vibe. The live streams are really good. Honestly, they've been really nice. They've been a good form of monetization. So I guess you could add that to the list when I do get to live stream as well.
Yeah, I mean, because you could have people do super chats for base reviews, right? You could have them do a certain amount. I mean, so it's when I do live streams occasionally, haven't done one in a while, but I do YouTube channel reviews where I'll go to your channel live and I'll give you some feedback of like, hey, you have some specific questions. Instead of like hiring me to do a coaching call, you might can do it that way. So it's a great form of monetization. And I always like to use live streams for future revenue as well. Like if you title your live streams well and you do the thumbnails, the packaging, back to packaging, people will come back and rewatch the VODs of these live streams and go and watch them when you're not live, and you're getting a ton of watch time, and it's increasing all the data and analytics that you need to continue to push your YouTube channel forward. So I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think one of the things also, like just to make sure we mention too, is that whenever you're thinking about monetizing live streams, this is one thing I've learned. You always want to offer. I always think about it like a convenience, right? So for me, I'll do everybody's base. Like eventually, I'll do everybody's base. Again, like I said, I have 500 people in line, right? But if people want to donate, if they have the capability, right, I can do your base today, and you're here today, right? So that's just a little bit of a convenience, right? Eventually, I'll get to everybody's bases, but it's a bit of a convenience, and that's a really good monetization method, because I don't think it's unfair to other people. It's just a little bit, a little bit of a convenience to them. And I think it's a good monetization model for creators to make money, to make a little bit more, to incentivize, instead of being like, oh, hey, if you guys want to donate, you can donate, right? That's a little bit awkward, right?
It's really a method that's been used since the beginning of time, right? Is convenience. And I do voiceover work, and my normal time of turnaround for voiceover work is, 2 to 3 days, because I have a family, I have 2 young kids. But if people want to pay me a good bit more money to hop the front of the line and have me do it today, I'll do that, because that's lucrative. It supports my family. So you are giving convenience, you are giving benefit. And then you have like YouTube channel memberships, which people can join. It's kind of like a subscription over on Twitch. I wish YouTube would do some more investing of resources and figuring out how to really help creators monetize even more with the community base that like you have. I remember early on when Super Thanks was a thing where people could watch your videos, and if you helped them out, I thought to myself, I have almost 2,000 videos, most of them evergreen technology tutorials. I thought, man, I'm gonna get rich. People are gonna send me all kind of money. Thinking, no, I may have like 2 or 3 a week, maybe, maximum. So, and I appreciate it. I'm glad it's there, but there has to be a better way to kind of do that. As we close out today, Syed, I want to ask you, when you do come back, when you're finished with the boards, what is your future strategy look like? Short term, long term? What are you looking to implement for the channel?
Yeah. I think one of my problems, maybe it's a problem or maybe it's something that's helping me a lot, is that I can immediately tell when something is just not up to par. I just, and I just feel like I'm not up to par currently. Like I really want to upgrade the content. I really want to go after. The thing is, as you get better, you can't lose the basics. That's the thing that gets hard, right? So like, for example, like I really need to understand like what the audience wants. So I can't immediately upgrade my content like as soon as I get back, but I need to understand what the audience wants. I've been gone for a while. What are people struggling with? What are their pain points? What can I talk about? What are the things that I really want to break down right first? After that, I want to get into shorts, especially too. Some of the shorts on my channel have done extremely well. I barely put any work into them, but they've done well because they've been about good topics, right? So definitely getting more into shorts, but consistently upgrading the long form content. That's really something that I'm looking towards. I really want people to just die for another video, right? So that's something that I really, really want to get good at. And then, a little bit more of live streaming here and there as well. So there's a lot of things to work on, right? But one of the main things that I'll do is I really want to have a pulse on the audience, because at the end of the day, if you have a pulse on the audience, like if you can answer their questions before they ask the question, you're going to be successful. That's like the number one thing, in my opinion. So,
well, Syed, you are extremely knowledgeable. You're very articulate. You are very great at presenting answers to questions that I threw at you today. And I really appreciate your time. And you are an amazing guest. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the show for absolutely free in your podcast player of choice. Also, there are ways you can connect with us. You can support us by supporting our sponsor, TubeBuddy, as well as supporting us over on Patreon to get access to our creator Discord community. And I also offer YouTube coaching and consultation, YouTube channel reviews, and just overall business coaching if that's something that you are wanting to look into. So make sure you check us out there, and we'll see you next week.